So I wait, and I did not hear back from anybody. Ultimately, I got an estimate how much it would cost.
Ultimately, like 6 months later, what took you so long to get? So it was August 30th when this happened, and it isn't until late February that you do something. What happened?
This is the plaintiff, Joshua Efron. He says he brought his car to the defendant's shop for a full detail, and the guy ripped his seat somehow. When he complained, he told him the rip was already there. It wasn't. He's now suing this guy for the $1,282.82 he's most certainly owed. This is the defendant, Gregory Paul. He says this guy called to complain about a tear in his seat after he left his car wash, claiming one of his guys ripped it. The guy wouldn't come back with the car so we could see the damage. It's clear as day the damage was already there, and he's not about to be scammed by the likes of the plaintiff and refuses to pay for something he did not do. He's accused of tearing into a customer.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Millian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Efron, you are suing Fashion Square Car Wash, represented here by Mr. Paul. You're the manager, correct?
Correct.
For $1,282 in damages you say they did to your car. Tell me what happened.
Okay, August 30th, 2020, Your Honor, I brought my car in for detailing.
And what kind of car is this?
It's a Subaru Crosstrek, 2014 Subaru Crosstrek.
Okay.
It was there roughly 2 hours, and then I got the call. The car was ready, so I went over, got it, and there was the plastic on the seat that the workers use, to not dirty up the seats. But because the seats were wet, I just left the plastic on and drove off with the plastic on. It took me about, I want to say maybe 15 minutes to get to my next destination. And at that time, my plan was I'd crack the windows open a little bit, pull off the plastic, and then let the seats dry. And that's when I pulled off the plastic and saw the rip in the seat. So I immediately phoned up the car wash and explained that there was a rip in the seat. I spoke to a man named Luis, and he said, okay, I'll look into it and get back to you in about an hour. An hour passes, I don't hear back, so I phone him back. And then he said, oh, that rip was already there. And we have camera footage of it. I said, you have camera footage of it? Really? I'd love to see this footage. And to this day, I have not seen that footage. I also said, if you saw a rip in the seat, wouldn't you have pointed that out before you put wet shampoo on a seat with a hole in it? Didn't make any sense to me. And he said, okay, not a problem. I'll have the boss get back to you, Greg. And I said, okay, great. So I wait, and I did not hear back from anybody. Ultimately, I got an estimate how much it would cost.
Ultimately, like 6 months later, what took you so long to get? So it was August 30th when this happened, and it isn't until late February that you do something. What happened?
Sorry, Your Honor, it was November I got the estimate. So I understand it was still a few months. I was basically just waiting to hear back from them. And
wait, you sat by the phone for 6 months? Like at some point you didn't call back? You're an attorney, right?
I'm an immigration.
You're more aggressive on your cases than you are with your own case, right? I hope, because so you never, when he doesn't call you, did you ever call again or no?
No. At that point,
So what happens instead is you file a written complaint through their website or something, right?
Yes. So I get the estimate in November, and then in February I send the
November, December, January, February. 3 months later, you send him. All right. When you received his complaint, all right, is that sent privately, Mr. Paul, to your business, or does that go to a parent company? How is it you received that complaint?
You could call me Greg, Your Honor. I received the email directly from our website, goes direct to my personal email. And then I got the email in February, and I responded the next day.
Did you have a guy named Lewis working for you?
Luis is one of my managers, very good guy.
And does he
I
remember,
trust
because
him.
now I assume everything's hit the fan once you ended up at People's Court. Did you ever sit down with Luis and say, hey, did this guy, what happened with this guy? And does Luis say, yeah, I gave you the message. Why didn't you call him back? Like, what is the conversation between you and Luis?
Well, I only got the email 6 months later. And then, of course, I talked to Luis about it.
And Luis doesn't remember?
Doesn't remember. I have vague recollection of possibly getting a message, but he said that he called the customer back and explained the situation, and then we left it at that.
Mr. Efron says that he was told by Luis, we have footage that proves that you came in here with that rip in your car.
We have camera footages. The whole car is caught on, camera footage the whole time it's on the car wash property. I never saw any car wash footage. It gets erased after, 2 weeks, maybe a month for some footage.
According to Mr. Efron, not only does Luis say we have camera footage, but Mr. Efron says, send me the footage. I'm dying to see it. And I do know.
And I believe
you say you don't hear about it until February, but Luis didn't save the footage that Mr. Efron asked to see, right?
I believe I talked to Luis about it. He doesn't remember it, but I told him the situation, and he said if that was a situation, I would have told the customer to return immediately.
Yeah, that is kind of curious, Mr. Efron. My first move would be when Greg doesn't return my call to psycho call him, because that's how I operate. But anyway, so why didn't you take the car back to the car wash?
All honesty, I just got a little bit busy, and I figured, okay, he'll phone me back. He doesn't want to have a bad customer. And in fact, his email response does show that he wants to try to make things right.
Totally.
Want to keep a good customer.
So let's get to the email response
figured,
by Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul sends an email back saying, I don't think we did it, but just in case, please I can refer you to a repair place, and I will give you free car washes to make up for whatever you have to pay for the repair. Now, if I'm you, and I'm saying, I let this thing go for 6 months, I never brought the car to them, I left the premises without checking it. I may have a proof problem. I don't know. That sounds pretty reasonable. But not you. You didn't think that was reasonable, Mr. Efron. You wanted him to pay you the $592.83, despite the fact that you took it with you and noticed it later.
Yeah, but 15 minutes later, more precisely. But yes, I didn't want to take the plastic off right away because I didn't want to sit on a wet seat. I was not expecting there to be a rip in the seat.
Now, here's the thing, Mr. Paul, you're right that, it becomes very difficult once. That's when a valet returns my car, and of course, this is because I've spent the last 30 years doing this, but I literally try to look inconspicuously when I walk all around my car. Like I'll start at the passenger door and then I'll walk around, like I'm looking at this side, and then I walk around and then I peek towards the front and then I come back to see if there's any damage. Because I know that the minute I drive off, it's going to be really, really hard for me to pin it on them. And they did it. I didn't do it. I may know that in my soul, but proving it to somebody is going to be hard. Now, it's a little different with Mr. Efron, and I'm going to tell you why. Number one, I have the phone records that show that he called your establishment several times that afternoon after picking it up. Number two, he took a video. It was really good that day. Then something shiny passed in front of his eyes and he forgot about it for another several months, and then several months after that. Let's look at the video.
Today is Sunday, August 30th, 2020. I just got my car from the Fashion Square car wash just maybe 2 hours ago. Right now, there are a couple of issues all on the driver's side. Number one, this airbag light is on. In addition, there's this rip in the seat right here.
Wow, that got a lot bigger later.
In addition, there's an issue with the driver's window.
Did you open it up a little for court so it would look worse? Why does it look so much worse now than it did on the day?
Your Honor, I submitted a picture. I submitted 3 pictures. One was taken the day of, and then I also submitted pictures taken a couple days ago in case court wanted to see how it looks now. And so over a year, the rip has gotten a little bit bigger.
What about your issue with the driver's window and your issue with the airbag? What happened with that?
Those went away, so those weren't part of my suit. I assumed there was something to do with water in there that evaporated, and then those weren't there.
And if the cost of the repair of the seat is $592.83, why are you suing for $1,282.82?
I was also suing for the cost of the detailing. I submitted a receipt for that.
But you did
was
get the detailing.
100
The idea behind court is to make you whole, not to put you ahead of the game. You got the detailing, you received it, so why would you get your money back for that? What you would get, if you're able to prove that they did it, is the cost of the repair of the chair. That's what you would get. And then you're also suing for lost wages?
Yes, lost wages. I figured I would do it a low $250 an hour and just cap it at 2 hours. I spent more time than that preparing this, but I thought that would get a little ridiculous.
Did you? Did you spend a lot of the last year and a half preparing it before you brought it to me?
No, it was more several hours. It was definitely not a year and a half or anything approaching that.
All right. So, Mr. Paul, let's get back to you. You know, I understand that when people leave, they've got to do like I do and neurotically walk around the car. But when it's inside the car, isn't that a little bit different? Especially in a case where I have him calling you guys, I see the phone records, and I have him videoing it on that day.
It doesn't 100%
What do you think
prove
happened?
one way or
What
the
do
other.
you think happened here? What do you think happened? Do you think that he's making it up and trying to pin it on you? Right.
Absolutely
Neither do I.
not. Absolutely not.
And also
I
the
don't think so.
I don't either, and that's where the problem lies. If we don't believe he's lying, then you guys would owe him for the chair. I don't think you owe him for lost wages, and you don't owe him for the detail. You gave him the detail, and but wouldn't you owe him for the chair then?
Absolutely not. We didn't damage the chair. And then also he
Look,
would have told
let me
them
tell
to
you
go to
something.
the
This is not
email
like a
address
little
on the
thing we're
website.
talking about. It's a big rip in the chair. And let's discuss something. This is a picture on the day. This is a video on the day. Let's get it to that point.
There's this rip in the seat right here.
And then throughout time, it has become worse, I take it. It's gotten more open or something?
Yes, Your Honor. And some of the inside foam has come out, and you can see some of it's down to the metal now.
Yeah.
Mr. Paul.
There's no way that a detail did that at all. It's impossible.
Talk to me.
That's
Explain to me.
Immediately, you know 100% that is not from shampoo or brushing it or anything like that. It might have started off at the beginning of the detail smaller, and it could have gotten bigger, but there's no way it started at the detail.
How would it have gotten bigger?
Maybe putting pressure on it, maybe sitting on it will, as you see, it's still opening up. It probably started off smaller. It opened up during the detail a little bit, maybe, and now it's even bigger, and it's going to get bigger and bigger until it's fixed.
Well, that's great, but that's a lot of supposition. I mean, I'd like to hear from the guy who detailed it or from the person who talked to the client, because unless we think he's a liar and there was no hole.
No.
Right. So
well,
I'll tell you how, I can tell you a couple of ways that I think this could happen. Somebody could have a belt buckle and it could have ripped it because it's a fabric seat. It's not leather. And no, somebody could have a tool on them. Somebody could have a cleaning tool that they're using and it brushes against it. Why no? Why no? How did it happen then? It happened somehow. How did it happen then?
I did some research on the plaintiff's car, a 2014 Crosstrek, okay? If you go and Google his particular car and the words car seat, problems, complaints, anything like that, and you'll get a lot of pictures and a lot of complaints, a lot of forums discussing this very problem with pictures that look very similar to the plaintiff's.
So you tell me that if I look up, this is a known problem, just this particular rip?
Yes, and because I did some research coming into court, I like to come in prepared. I found this Subaru. This is a Subaru service bulletin for for many cars, but one of them is a 2014 Crosstrek, and it says the front seat back upholstery hooks, there's a design change. And it says if it's not repaired with continued use, the seat back frame may break down from foam padding covering it. Eventually, the frame will likely wear through and damage the trim cover.
When a hook fails, the center flat portion of the seat back drops inward from lack of support, and if not repaired, the seat back frame may break down the foam padding covering it.
It also explains this is a service bulletin directly for Subaru dealers and the repair people, and it explains how you're supposed to fix the problem, and it also explains how the warranty will take care of it.
What say you to that, Mr. Efron?
If it's going to break through, Your Honor, I would imagine that would be a more gradual process. It wouldn't happen that I bring the car in for detailing.
maybe when someone's detailing it the way they're supposed to detail it, which is with shampoo and a little bit of, elbow grease, that causes it to be visible now to you, but the degradation was in there and not that person's fault. You have to prove in this court that it's something they did wrong, like either they accidentally ripped it, or they purposely ripped it, or they conducted their business in such a way that ends up ripping it. Now, all of a sudden, he shows me something that is literally a service bulletin for your 2014 Subaru Crosstrek that specifically says that it may be covered because it's a recall on it. What is this dated from?
2/6/2018.
2/6/18. When did you buy the car, Mr. Efron?
Actually, Your Honor, that's approximately when I bought the car. I bought the car February of 2018, as it happens,
Wow.
from a dealer, and was never told that at all.
That's interesting.
And I had no problem. 2.5, almost 3 years go by, and had no problem.
Yeah, I know.
And,
everyone has no problem until the second they have a problem. Then that's the second the problem was born. That's always the case. But, it's very hard for me to say to them that they obviously did something. Look, I find you to be credible, and so does he. Nobody thinks you're a scammer because if you were a scammer, you'd be on it so much better than you've been. You wouldn't have waited a year and a half. You're too busy. You're an attorney with a practice, and you're like, you know what? Now I decided I'm mad. No one thinks you're a scammer. But you still have to prove that they did something wrong. Unless they actually did something that you didn't hire them to do, it's very hard with this service bulletin to tell him you guys did something wrong and you got to pay the guy $592, much less $1,282.82. I'm going to send this service bulletin to you to make sure that you have it, and it may still be covered. I don't know. I hope you two end up talking to each other and work something out with repairs and car washes. And I mean, Mr. Paul doesn't have to do that, but he probably wants to look good on television. And would you be willing to do that?
I'm willing to do that without being on television. That's why I sent him an email.
All right. My work is done here. Based on this...
But please, Mr. Efron, come on back and I will give you some free washes, and I will set you up with an upholstery guy, and we will get your seat taken care of and keep your car clean, and you'll be coming back paying me money for many more years. I promise you. We will take care of you.
Oh.
Good business, man.
Let me just hold on to that feeling. Let me hold on to the feeling where litigants aren't screaming at each other. All right, gentlemen, for the reasons I've stated, verdict for the defendant.
Thank you.
Well, what a fascinating case. The defendant prevails because he did his homework and gave the judge some very convincing evidence. Mr. Efron, let me talk to you. How do you feel about the outcome of the case? Are you surprised?
As long as I ultimately get the seat repaired and it doesn't come out of my pocket, if it comes out of the pocket of Subaru of America, that's fine too, as long as I'm not paying for something I didn't do.
Well, look, he's been great about it. Are you going to go back and get car washes from him and let him maybe fix this up for you?
Probably, as long as, we are able to get this taken care of and move on.
Well, good for you. I mean, come on, you're very lucky to have a defendant like that to work with. Greg Paul, let me ask you, good for you. You did a lot of work. That was smart for you, right? You pat yourself on the back.
Thank you. After they approached me to do the show, I started watching episodes. And I binge watched hundreds of episodes, and I was like, I got to start doing some research.
Well, good for you. What a nice guy. What a great guy. And what a smart guy. And keep watching. You'll keep learning, okay?
Doug, I gotta say, this is great work on the defendant's part to do this kind of research. It was deep research, but ultimately it won the case for the defendant because the defect in the car seat and the recall was pretty much all the defendant had to do to blow up the plaintiff's burden of proof.
Marilyn, what's the first thing you do when you wake up?
I look at the clock on the bedstand next to my side of the bed, and I'm grateful that I woke up. That actually does happen in the mornings. I'm like, oh, another day. And then my dog. I go down to my dog.
Well, as you're walking out of the bedroom, the dog is usually asleep on the carpet, the rug right in front of the front door, right?
And what happens as I'm coming down the steps?
You immediately hear this thumping sound of
boom, boom. She's still asleep, but her tail is wagging because she's sensing that I'm coming, and she's banging her tail against the carpet.
Right, it's loud.
Yeah, that happens when either of us wake up.
She has a happy tail.
Yes, she does.
Yes.
What's the first thing you do?
Well, let's see. When I wake up, I get up off the floor. I try to figure out where I am.
That's not true.
No, I go downstairs. I stumble downstairs. I make some coffee, and you've already been up for an hour, usually.
Right.
Right. And you're in the middle of God knows what project. There's probably stuff all over the place. And
then you say to me, I'm still having my cup of coffee until what time? Till like several hours later.
Well, you know, you got to enjoy it, right? So I do that. But who makes you breakfast?
You do. Actually, that's become your thing after the kids left the nest.
So I got that going for me.
Yeah.
This is the plaintiff, Tahira Edwards. She says she rented a room in the defendant's house, and the woman pulled out a purple gun and told her she needed to get out because she would be the only female living there. Things went downhill fast from there. The defendant made a false police report against her, saying she threatened her kids, and needless to say, she moved out. She's suing for $10,000 for rent, gas, and emotional distress. This is the defendant, Ronisha McKenzie. She says she told the plaintiff she couldn't guarantee anything regarding the room because she'd been threatened with eviction, so the plaintiff knew this was a temporary situation. Besides, the crazy woman threatened her kids, and now she's being sued for emotional distress. She's accused of lousy landlording.
Oh, wow.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff rented a room from the defendant. Turns out the defendant had no right to rent rooms, so the plaintiff wants her money back. Now the defendant says she told the plaintiff things were only going to be temporary because she was threatened with eviction, but the plaintiff wanted to move in anyway, so she owes nothing. It's the case of get a room.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Ms. Edwards, what happened?
So I was just on Craigslist searching for rooms for rent. At the time, I was a caregiver and I was staying with one of my clients. I was hoping to find something up in the Antelope Valley because that is where my children are located. And I came across Ronisha's post. There was multiple posts for rooms for rent in this home that was located in Lancaster, California. I saw the photos of the master bedroom. I was instantly interested. I wanted something big, something that kind of felt like a studio. So that's what I went for. I ended up messaging her on the 16th of July around 2:13 p.m. She told me, when are you willing to rent? And I told her I would like to move in as soon as possible, hoping that I would get prorated rent since it was the middle of the month. It seemed as if she was willing to agree with that. And she told me to come by the next day so that I can go ahead and see what options she had available. So when I had came over there on, I believe it was a Saturday, the 17th, she showed me the rooms. There was only two of them she showed me. One was a master. The other was a small bedroom. The master was going for $800 and the smaller room was going for $400. I decided to go with the master bedroom. I explained to her that I needed to go and get money out of the bank so I can give her what she was asking for.
What was she asking for?
So she asked for the $400, which would have been the prorated rent. And she asked for a $200 or $300 deposit. So I gave her $400 plus the $300 deposit. And I gave her the $300 deposit in cash because I initially went to the bank to try to get money out. I could only get $300 out.
Okay, so
I
you gave her
$300.
$700. And then what happens? She asked you for another $250. How much later?
I think it was the next day over.
And what did she say was the reason that she was trying to get another $250 from you?
She said that the owner told her that she made a mistake in telling me that it was only $300 for the deposit and that it was actually $550, I believe. And so I had ended up sending over another $250 through my Cash App to her account.
All right. Now, who else was living in the place?
I don't really know for sure who else was living there, but I was introduced to a man. I do not remember his name.
Can I ask you something? You said something about you wanted to move closer to your children. How old are your children?
My son is 6 years old and my daughter is 3.
Okay. So were you planning on using this as a residence and are they in someone else's custody?
Yes. My ex-boyfriend, who is their father, his
All right.
mother has legal guardianship as of December 2019.
All right, so wouldn't it matter who your roommates are going to be if the kids are going to be there?
Right.
Well, they were not going to be there. It was
Gotcha.
supposed to be something that was just for me.
Gotcha. Okay.
We didn't get that far ahead.
Okay. So now what ends up happening? Do you move in what day?
It was the 17th that I moved in, so the same exact day that I gave her all of the funds.
And so
she gave
when
me
do
a
you
key.
find out something's wrong? And how do you find out?
Well, my ex-boyfriend was with me at the time because he was helping me move things in and out. And basically, he mentioned that he felt that it was an abandoned house because of the way that it looked. And I actually got mad at him because I was like, why are you trying to put negativity on my situation, you know? But I'm like, no, like, don't put that in the universe. I really want this to be a place that I could stay for a while. And we just ignored it. Like, we stopped talking about it. And then basically we went shopping. I went to try to find a bed. I went to find, just things for the room because I wanted to decorate the room.
Right.
I wanted
So
to get into
when
my
do you
YouTube
find
channel.
out something's wrong?
Basically, I was kind of starting to feel that maybe what he was saying was correct because the person that was living there, the man that was also in the home, I noticed when I was about to leave to go to the store, he was like, oh, are you guys coming back tonight? Oh, I'm just curious when you guys are coming back to the house. And I thought that was strange because I'm like, why are you curious when I'm leaving or coming? I live here now. I paid rent. I gave my deposit. I have my own key. So for him to have been asking me those
So
questions.
did you ask him,
I
why are you
immediately was
asking
like,
me?
No, I decided to call her.
Okay.
And she was like, oh, I'm going to go talk to him right now. And I was like, no, please don't do that. Like, I don't want my roommate,
Okay,
if
can I
it's
ask
gonna be
you to
my
get to the
roommate.
point, though, a little bit? So here's what
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
concerned about.
Right.
When she tells you I need another $250, who does she say the landlord is?
She didn't say at that time that the landlord.
At some point,
landlord
she
was
says
anyone
it's
in
her
specific.
father?
Later on, yes, she did
No.
text me and say that it was her father.
Okay. So when do you find out that you're being evicted? Let's get to the point here. When do you find out there's something really
9
wrong?
o'clock in the morning.
On what day?
I believe it was Sunday.
What day? July
The
what?
police came knocking on the door.
July what?
I believe it was the 19th or
Okay.
the 18th.
So a few days after you moved in, you get a knock on the door, and who is it?
The police.
All right. Police accompanied by whom?
The owner was there.
The owner. And what did you learn when the police were there?
They just said, you guys have 10 minutes to get out of the home. You're being evicted. And I told the officer.
Well, that's not how evictions work. Okay. So you told the officer what?
No.
I told him, I literally just paid for this room. I came across this ad on Craigslist for a room for rent. And I just gave this person, Ronisha, money for this room. And he said, well, I'm sorry, that person is being evicted.
Okay. And that Ronisha was being evicted. Okay. Let me hear from you, Ms. McKenzie. What the heck is going on? She hands you $950, and within 72 hours, the police are there to drag her away. So what's going on? Were you in the middle of an eviction when you rented it out to her?
No. Joel, he's the owner of the house. I'm on the deed of the house, so I wasn't getting evicted. What he was mad about was me moving and renting out the rooms.
I'm sorry. How are you on the deed? That would make you an owner too. Do you own the house?
He's kind of like, yes.
May I see the deed?
And I explained this to
May
Edward.
I see the deed?
Yeah, I don't have it at the house I'm at now.
Okay, but according to her, the landlord's saying that you were evicted. What's your relationship with the landlord?
You can consider him my ex.
Did you date him?
Yes.
Okay. Did you call him your father at one point in the texts?
No. The guy who was living there with you is my father.
The guy who was living there? No. Did you call Joel your father? My father, Joel, in the texts? Yeah.
I probably did, yes.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? So that's not true, is it? We know that's a bold-faced lie. Why are the police there telling her, everybody get out of here, she's being evicted, if there was no eviction case against you?
Well, there's no eviction case against me. The problem was he was upset that I had rented out the rooms.
What right do you have to rent out the rooms?
I mean, I was staying there for about 3 years, and he pretty much letting me run the house the way I wanted to.
Okay, were you paying rent?
And he was upset that I rented out the room.
Were you paying rent?
Yes.
Okay, when was the last time you had paid
rent? I was paying half of the mortgage, not rent.
Okay.
Last month, because I'm still paying.
Okay, so how is it then that the police took you out if you are an owner of the house? That doesn't make much sense.
They never took me out because I wasn't there.
Well, why aren't you there now?
But I've been going there. I've been in
You
contact
got
with
another
Joel. We
place
talk
that
every
you're
day.
living. So tell me how it is that anybody successfully moved you from there if you're an owner of the house.
Well, me and Joel is still in communication. So he's moving back in the house. He's working on the house because it was not an abandoned house. What happened was the kitchen needed to be repaired. So he's getting that repaired.
Okay,
and
did the police
we
go
still
there with
communicate.
Joelle and tell her get out?
I wasn't in town.
But
I
you
don't
know it happened, right?
Joel said,
Well, you're talking to Joelle, so you know it
Well-
happened, right? That Joelle was there with the police
Well,
and
Joelle-
told the lady you'd taken money from that she needed to get out because you didn't have a right to do that because he was mad that you were renting it out. All that's true, right? You know that.
Yes.
So on what
Yes.
planet do you think
Yeah.
that you do not have to return her rent money to her?
okay, so what happened was when she first came in, rented the room, I explained to her, look, the guy, Joel, I explained that to you in the kitchen. I never pulled a gun out on you. I don't own a gun. I said, Joel, he's been acting fishy with me because we've been going through things. I said, so I moved out and started renting out the rooms, and that's how, yes, I did, Miss Edwards. You don't have to laugh.
Wait,
I said,
I'm sorry.
renting out the
What is
rooms.
your testimony? That it'll be $950 and you may get kicked out tomorrow?
No. I said you'll probably be able to stay here to the end of this year. That's what I said.
Well, that didn't happen, did it?
Because that's what he was told to me.
So what's your defense? Because it didn't happen. She got kicked out in 72 hours. What is your defense? Why did you keep this lady's
Well-
money?
Because there was a no refund.
I think I'll be the judge of that, whether there's a refund or not. If you're just a scam artist renting out rooms to people without any authority to rent out rooms, then yeah, I'll be deciding if there's a refund. So show me your authority to rent out those rooms.
Well, Joel allowed me to at one
Show
point.
me proof that Joelle authorized you to rent that out. Is Joelle there to testify, or do you have, what are you looking for there?
She have Joel's number.
Okay.
I'm going to call and just put it on speaker.
Oh, that's fun. That's Joe. But
Joel, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm on the phone. Well, I'm on a FaceTime with PeoplesCourt and Miss Edwards, the one that was renting the room out on Pillsbury.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Okay, well, you met her. So she's telling the judge that you did not give me permission to rent out the room. You did give me permission at one point, but I wasn't paying you all the money that I was getting for the rent.
You didn't pay me no money. What are you talking about?
Okay, well, he allowed me. He's saying I didn't pay him. I did pay him.
No, you did not pay me anything, Mackenzie, for over a year. What are you talking about?
So I did, but he's saying I didn't. So
hi, here's what I want to ask you. How did you get the cops to remove her?
Everyone was evicted.
yeah.
Okay, so according to him, there was an eviction filed?
He said everyone was evicted.
Right,
I
and
don't
so
know.
according
He
to him,
didn't
the
file one on
whole
me, though.
process had gone through and everyone was evicted. Tell me, Ms. McKenzie, on what planet,
wasn't,
if you
though.
had in fact paid somebody $950 to live there for a month, only part of that was the month, the other was security, and then you got kicked out in 3 days, would you expect the $950 back?
Yeah, but then again, it costs more to stay at a hotel, Miss Edwards.
I'm sorry. She wasn't staying in a hotel. She was moving into a place you pretended you had the authority to rent out.
No,
and now
I
have
informed
found
her.
out,
I
thanks to
informed
your
her.
phone call, that in fact you weren't paying him squat, which is why he was sick of you renting out something that you didn't own. I'm fascinated by your phone call to this man. I'm fascinated by it. Now let's talk to you, Ms. Edwards, about your lawsuit. You're suing for the $950 back, and that's obvious. Then you're also suing for a hotel, for gas, for storage, for the Airbnb, and then $7,000 for emotional distress because you are angry, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but I understand the $950. Where does the $10,000 come in?
Well, I'm sure you have placed in front of you the proof of the Airbnb and the motels that I've had to pay for, the gas that I've had to put in my car since then.
Right, but
I
why is
literally
that
had a
something
mental
she would have to
breakdown.
pay? The fact that you have to put gas in your car, you would have to put gas in your car anyway.
Because if I'm kicked out of your home, which is where I'm supposed to be staying for the next 2 weeks, also, if possible, the next 6 months, which is what I told her I wanted to stay.
Well, you
how
didn't
long
have
I
a
wanted to
lease.
stay
All
there
you had
for.
was a month to month at best because it was verbal. So you didn't have.
And I told you that you probably only have 8 months.
She gave me a lease that she told me she was going to give me a copy of and never did.
Did you sign a lease, Ms. Edwards?
Yes, I did.
Why would you sign something and not take a picture with your phone?
You're totally right, but I honestly trusted that she would.
Why would you trust her? She's a scam artist. What does that say about you that you hand her $700 and then say, I'm going to need another $250? Oh, that sounds good. And you hand her the other $250. I mean, come on. You're a grown woman with children. You ought to be more careful about this. You don't have any proof she owns a place. No, stop talking, Miss McKenzie. I had her number in 30 seconds. And you're literally handing her more money and more money. I mean, be a little more careful. But why would that all of a sudden entitle you to $10,000? I have the answer for that. It doesn't. But I'll tell you what, Miss McKenzie, if you think that you're going to get away with only returning the $950 that you owe her, you're wrong about that. Because I'm going to double that $950 as punitive damages for your scam of collecting rent from someone who you had no right to collect rent from. So my verdict is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,900.
Well, the plaintiff looks happy. She's not getting $10,000. She's getting $1,900, which is pretty good. Ms. McKenzie, the judge said she saw right through you. You're a scam artist. What do you feel about that? How do you react to that?
I mean, I don't think I have anything to feel about it. That's how she feels, so that's fine.
But it's true, isn't it? You are a scam artist, aren't I right?
No.
Well, you certainly come off as one. Ms. Edwards, you're happy. I saw you smiling when the judge gave the verdict. What are you thinking right now? How you feel?
I feel good. I wasn't expecting the $10,000, but that's what I went for. I just hope that Ronisha is able to do better with her life and in her life.
All right. Well, good luck to you, okay? You tried for 10, you didn't get it, but you're still happy. Good enough.
So, Doug, in this case, the plaintiff not only got compensated for the money she's at, but she also got punitive damages. In most states, you get punitive damages, or can get them, if you prove fraud, oppression, or malice. In this case, there was proof of fraud. Now, the judge has a lot of discretion on how much to award, but typically it's enough to make an example of that person.
How close are you guys with Douglas and your staff? Do you have get-togethers with them at times?
This show is like a family, really. And it's a family that's been together for a long, long time, as you well know.
Yeah.
So 21 years of your life here working with them constantly, and a couple years of my life now, almost.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do get together.
We do, and our parties are kind of legendary. They're the stuff of legends. I once went backstage at a Broadway show, and the fellow who was the stand-in for the lead, who was so good, and I just wanted to tell you, were so good. You were so good. I can't imagine the person you're standing in for being better than you. He goes, you don't remember me, do you? I said, I'm sorry. He goes, we met once before. I was your bartender at one of your parties.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
On a boat.
Right? He was talking about a tattoo that we had all done fake tattoos and all kinds of stuff. Yeah, that
was like a New York Harbor cruise.
This is a great place to work. We're very blessed here, and a lot of good people and a lot of good times.
It makes it fun to come to work.
Yeah.